from my heart and from my hand. Why don't people understand my intention?
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So today's a big day. We're actually taking the Clubman over to electricmini.nl. So as you probably gather from that intro, guys, things did not go to plan. I had an entirely different video in mind. However, good news is the car's finished. It's done its APK, it's got its e-certificate, and we're actually heading there to pick up the car right now. So no more teasing, no more delays. Let's go get the car. And there she is. It's good to see her after almost 2.5 months. We're going to do some initial instructions and setup with the guys at Electric Mini before we load it onto the trailer. Then we'll get it back to our workshop. Okay guys, a couple of days have passed now. We've got it back in our own workshop. We've been using the last few days to do some initial setup requirements. You can probably see at the moment that we've got it plugged in charging because we're still working through the cycling of the battery, because obviously when the batteries are delivered they're completely lacking of any energy storage, and it takes a couple of cycles in order to get the battery up to 100%. You can probably hear the inverter there keeping it cool. The charger is on this side, and hopefully you can see this down there, the actual motor itself. Now, as I mentioned during the building of this, it's actually a passive system, so it doesn't require any additional cooling. If you're wondering what this is on this side, this is just the washer bottle. So hopefully you guys have been paying attention to some of the short videos I posted, because the guys came up with a very unique solution for the charging port. As you can hear, we've got a flip up and it's hidden beneath the number plate. The nice thing about this is that on the Clubman you already had these air vents, which means that we didn't have to modify the car in order to get the charging port in. It literally screws over the existing hole. So I thought that was a really neat solution by the guys. Let's take a quick look at what we did in the rear. So hopefully you can see this. It's quite a sunny day. So as I mentioned before, we were trying to avoid making any real structural changes to the body because it would have required an additional set of test requirements and almost to be registered as a new car. The way that this has been done, it's fully reversible, and it all required a e-certification. So what I went for is 2 battery layers because I wanted extended range. Those 2 batteries will give me 240 kilometers in range, which I think is more than adequate for a car like this. One of the other things that we've been playing around with is actually the suspension setup as well, because if you remember, we did put coilovers on this. Now the springs that we went with are 250 pound compression springs. You can get a 225 and you can get a 275, but honestly I'm kind of happy with the ride height, both front and rear on this, and as the dampers are fully adjustable, it gives me enough space to play around with handling and also comfort. Maybe in the future I will add an anti-roll bar in the rear, but I'm not entirely convinced it's necessary. It would sharpen it up a little bit, but yeah, we'll do some more testing and find out if it's really critical. Now there's still 1 or 2 pieces that I want to finish off, and actually one is with the guys at Electric Mini themselves, because we were unable to finish the original dashboard cluster setup because obviously there's a problem globally at the moment with electronics, and they couldn't quite get the pieces to convert the original dials. So what we've got instead at the moment is we have a GPS and battery monitor. Let me see if I can get that in better. On the bottom here, that is providing the speed and range information as well as the battery charge. Now ultimately when the PCB comes back in, it will be back where the original gauge cluster is. But as you can see, everything's working fine this way. It takes a little time to find its signal because it is a GPS system. But as I said, this is just a temporary solution, and quite frankly, it's extremely usable in its current form. Now, one of the other cool things about this is that you have this rotating dial here, which is actually a timed demister. If you turn that, you can hear the ventilation comes on to demist the windscreen. Now that's kind of cool because it means that you come in the morning, turn this on and leave it running for 60 seconds or however long it takes to demist your windscreen, and it doesn't kill the battery because it is basically like an egg timer. Now on this one we have 3 modes. You have the eco mode, which basically limits its top speed. Then you have the standard mode where you have reduced torque, but it doesn't really limit your top speed. And then you have sports mode, and believe me, in this mode there's a lot of torque. Okay, I guess the thing to do now is to take it for a spin and give you my first impressions of what it's like to drive. Hi guys, I just want to stop the video there for a moment and let you know that any donations or ad revenue generated by this channel is actually being given towards cancer counselling charities that are helping families that have received a cancer diagnosis get through difficult times. So any help from your side, donations, or just watch the video to the end is highly appreciated. And you know, from my side, thank you so much for the support so far. Okay guys, let's give this a go. So the first thing that you notice is actually, for an old car, all the squeaks and creaks, because there's no longer a loud engine to kill out those noises. And in fact, I think I've got a squeak on the back doors on this that I'll need to take a look at. Everything's got brand new rubbers, so maybe a little bit of Vaseline on the rear doors will actually get rid of that noise. But overall, noise levels are pretty good. We did spend quite a lot of time on soundproofing in the engine bay to try and take out that high-pitched whine, but as you can hear, it's okay. It's certainly better than the Mark 1 version that I drove last year. The other thing you notice as well is the steering. There's almost 30 kilos in weight that's been removed from the front end, and it's very noticeable in the steering. I mean, it's almost like you've got power steering now. It's not too light, it's weighted just right enough, but certainly a big improvement. As far as the drivetrain is concerned, it's really unusual to drive a Mini that's got torque all the way through. And right now I'm running in economy mode, but still, I've got a hell of a lot of torque left in the accelerator pedal. Now we're cruising on here around about 90 to 100 kilometers an hour, and it has no issues at all, and it actually feels like the limiter is stopping it going any quicker. So yeah, it's quite an experience. Now in sports mode, what you actually get now is you get a hell of a lot more instant torque pulling through the range, and on this relatively flat road, it's easy for me to go up to, let's see now, 110. And again, it still feels like there's a lot of torque left even when you hit the limiter at the top. So yeah, it is quite an experience, and believe me, forget your Porsches and Ferraris. If you want a real head turner, this is the way to go, because when you go past people on the side of the road and they hear the electric motor from the outside, yeah, you really get noticed. Hey guys, what can I say? Where to begin? I didn't think it was possible to be able to put more smiles on your face with a Mini. but this certainly does. Absolutely excellent. Now obviously we've only had the car for a few days, so I'm really curious to try it in different weather conditions because the weather's been glorious for the last few days. I'm curious about that traction in wet weather. Now obviously there's several different configurations that you can go with this type of system. I chose one where I keep my passengers' rear seats, which means the battery is on the rear. Now it doesn't feel tail happy at all, feels absolutely fine. So from that perspective I'm absolutely satisfied. Now if there's one area I could criticize a little bit, and I'm really nitpicking at this point in time, it's actually to do with the shifter itself. The shifter is extremely light and it doesn't have any resistance or any real positive clicks. Now, I'm a tall guy and occasionally my leg goes across and hits that stick, so it would be nice if there was a little bit more resistance to stop it from accidentally moving into a different status. Now it's going to be a couple of days more. We'll do some more testing. We'll actually do some benchmarking against some of the other minis that we've got as well, so stay tuned for those. But for the moment, I hope you enjoyed the video. Take care and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks a lot. Bye bye.